Hello and welcome in. I am MissKinghorn and we are back here in The Sims 4 and we are back for a second year working on the Winter Wonderland collab number 3. I missed the first year, but I've been here for the last 2, so I will put a card up for last year's video, so definitely check that out as well. But today we are in the 30 by 30 lot in the Starlight Boulevard, which came with Get Famous actually, and yeah, this is a build I've actually had on my go list for a while, and I think I've mentioned it before that I have this sort of list of things I want to build, and kind of a big kind of event kind of space somewhere where you can take the whole family, have a lot of fun, was definitely something on my list, and I would love to do more of those as we go through. But for now, here is a giant ice rink. I've kind of done it here in Del Sol Valley because I thought it was a bit more of a city, kind of a little bit more made up, kind of a bit more, how do we put it, industrial, kind of more like commercial kind of area, and I thought this would be a perfect spot for it to go into here. So you will notice I have a couple of changes of wallpaper and colourings and things like that. Now, I also make quite a few mistakes for this build, and I should admit those right now. There are things that I do that are not actually in the final version of this. In here, I'm a builder, and I feel like I say that every time I do a commercial lot. I am a builder and I don't understand gameplay. It's not my thing. I don't tend to go into it other than playtesting, and it is during playtesting when I learned I had done something very, very stupid with this build. So this was always going to be a small business lot. It was always going to be owned by a family and kind of run that way without them sort of living on the lot. I didn't want them living here, but I wanted it to be a commercial business for them. But I didn't quite realise what I needed to have or how that system worked in there. So there's a few things that don't quite make sense now. But anyway, you'll sort of see and you'll figure it out, and then the final version that is up on the gallery is done. That is the one that actually works. So yeah, you have that to look forward to. But this is a gorgeous build. I actually did this a little while ago. So I started, I think, back in like October with doing the shell of this, and then I didn't want to do the interior until a little bit later because I was like, oh, we're probably gonna get new packs, we're gonna get new kits, yada yada yada. And then everything that happened, and I haven't bought any of the new kits or anything like that. So yeah, I could have done this earlier, but anyway, well, you can see here the kind of shell of this building is complete. We have lots of glass windows and skylights, and yeah, lots of sort of light coming in here. I also have some walls where there is just nothing. That was kind of a deliberate choice of where I wanted you to look, and I feel like something like this in a big sort of commercial kind of building doesn't tend to have too many windows on it, so we just have lots of skylights to let in some natural lighting, and then big windows on some of the sides in here. But I also picked this one. It has like a little car parky kind of space next to it, and I thought that would be really nice in here. We've kind of made this very kind of commercial, and I do want to do a few more builds in this sort of neighbourhood. Maybe in the new year we'll have to sort of see into there. But yeah, I actually really like how this build turned out. So using lots of these sort of wall decorations, artwork, they're kind of like boards that are like wooden boards that are like painted and stuck into frames. I totally forgot we actually had them. I don't think I've used them in a while, but they worked really nicely for here and just gives it a bit of height along the front and down the sides into there. Now you can see I am actually building this in build mode and I don't have Sims on the lot. That is because this is technically classed as a small business lot and I don't think there's anybody on here, but it's also like summery. So all of the plants work in here and they look how they should look, I guess, in sort of spring and summer. When we get to the screenshots, that's when winter comes, let's say, and we get a little bit, well, we didn't really get snowy. I play tested this for so long and we just did not have snow, and it was one of the most frustrating things ever. You ever tried to take screenshots with snow? It just does not snow. So frustrating. Anyway, enough about that. I'm personally played for about 2 weeks, the whole of winter, and there just was nothing in this world of snow. So yeah, now we're going to work here on the entranceway. I kind of wanted this little weird little box. I don't know why I kind of set my heart on it, but I did. And yeah, we have this box. I think I ended up placing a flag in here. Now this, I kind of was taking some inspiration from like Winter Olympic kind of stadiums and things like that for like the exterior. It's big, it's boxy, it's kind of very commercial, it's, yeah. And they tended to have flags pretty much everywhere on them, obviously for like the advertising and things like that. So I thought a nice flagpole at the front here. We do get some on the inside as well. You'll see those when we get in there. But this is the front entranceway here. You will see here my frustration. These windows just do not align properly, and I don't understand why. In the end, we kind of get a hodgepodge of windows in here, and yeah, eventually it kind of makes sense. Somehow we get the small little sign back in on here. Now I have come through and placed windows down this side. Now you can see here there is the staircase leading to the second floor in here as well. That's just a nice floating kind of staircase hitting the window. It doesn't really make too much sense, but hey, it kind of works in the terms of This Is The Sims into here. Now I've gone for a nice dark blue kind of siding for this. You would have seen I went for light blue, I changed it to white at one point, I went through different textures and things, and I kind of settled on these like metal sort of sheets that kind of really have that nice little groove in them, and they just look kind of very cool. Mix that in with the stone that we have along the front as well here, and then obviously on the roof all of those kind of extractor fans, because I feel like they would need to make it very cold, and heating wise I don't necessarily think they would have heating. It would just be like air conditioning to keep it really cold. So I figured you would need lots of those on the roof into there. But now all the planting's done, I wanted to kind of keep it a little bit minimal, so I have kind of just done it on the sides, nothing too major, just some bushes and some kind of flowering kind of shrubs that kind of you don't need to do anything for. I feel like to do something properly in a commercial building, like a proper garden, just would not make sense. So really wanted something a little bit less maintenance heavy, shall we say, into here. But now you'll see we are back here at the entranceway, and we are just placing out some sort of street furniture. We've got some benches on the side. I've kind of gone for this bright white kind of stone here that is so against kind of anything that we like. It's not to the terrain, but it kind of works in a way that it's that shark white that we kind of get when we have ice and things like that. So that's kind of what I wanted for here. And then we somehow managed to find a sign that kind of fitted what we really wanted into here. I felt that this was a bit more of a play kind of structure into there, and I changed it to the white version, to the black, sorry, from the white, because you just could not see it. Anyway, we're now going to jump on to the interior of this. I will place some lighting in just a second, so don't worry, it does kind of fix itself into here. But I have used this really nice soft kind of light wood, and I think that kind of just complements the blue and the white really, really well. And you'll see here, these sofas, I tried to colour match them. What on earth was I thinking? Anyway, this is kind of the entrance foyer, so you kind of come in here, you can maybe wait for your friends if they're sort of coming with you, or someone's parking the car or something and you just wanted to hop out, you can do that. And it just made for a nice, really like informal kind of area into there. And now we're going to work on this section, which is actually the kind of reception ticket booth entrance kind of way into here. And I placed these down. These are like the little half slab kind of pieces from Sleek Bathroom, I believe. I kind of wanted them as a little barrier to this sort of front section into here. This is where I made my first mistake and where I did not wait. So when this is actually uploaded, this slightly changes because that ticket machine to like get into the small business, it just does not work. For some weird, there's just routing issues to it, and I was basically finding that people were coming but not actually staying or using anything because they couldn't reach it. I change it out, and I actually think I place it where the plant is. I think I moved that all around a little bit into there. Yeah, and then we also get some sort of kiosk tills in here. I feel like they're a little bit more in keeping with what you would actually have to buy tickets. Maybe the other one is like if you've ordered it online and like you've pre-booked and you can just like pop in your email address and you're good to go sort of thing, whereas the others, if you need to pay for it on the day, you can use those. That's kind of what I was thinking in here. But we also have some awards on the wall, and then this big skiing photo sort of artwork piece. Now I tried as very best as I could to make this a little bit more skiing kind of all-inclusive kind of thing, but there was no artwork for ice skating. Don't ask me why, there just wasn't. It was a very weird setup, but anyway, we have that sort of staff area there, kind of reception space. I kind of didn't want to put any, like, too much in sort of there. I wanted it to be very kind of modern build into here. Now, this is mistake number 2. I feel like I've done them all in the first part of this video. This is the kitchen. So I wanted kind of a cafe kind of feel into here so that you can like grab a snack, you can get some food, maybe a drink in here as well, so you can kind of make it an all-day event. I thought this really nice counter here would work perfectly. Unfortunately, this does not work unless you make this little restaurant. I do change it. You'll sort of see that, I think in the screenshots. Yeah, this was mistake number 2. I just did not even think that this would not work. Like, why can we not hire a chef in a small business lot? Anyway, it is what it is, and I think I changed that out to being another counter kind of space into there. But yeah, we have sort of this small little section here. We've got lots of tables where you can come in. Maybe if you want it for like a birthday party or something like that, this could be a private little space for you to decorate with balloons and banners, and yeah, have that kids sort of space for them to enjoy a meal out into here as well. I think we end up getting in some high chairs on a couple of the tables as well. Now I do place some plates. They're not technically dirty, but they're just like in a green swatch, which I think makes them look a little bit more dirty into there as well. And yeah, I do get out the host station and no, I don't get a host station, I get a waitressing station, sorry. So even if you did have this as a restaurant, yeah, it had to go in here in reception, and again, it's not usable. It's really just there as a decorative item. I kind of wanted to make this as many lots as I could all at once without really knowing what I was doing. Which, you know, is always fun and games. Right, now we're going to work on the kitchen area here, and this is where I then realise it's not in the right place because we're using quite a few platforms in this build, which, if you have been a fan of this channel for a while and you have watched quite a few of my builds, you know I do not get along with them. It just did not even work. Now, you might have noticed that I actually pulled out the kitchen sort of cafe build or item from high school. Would have worked perfectly in here. I discarded it. I decided that was not what I wanted. Anyway, we kind of put in a bit more of a commercial kitchen in the back here. We'd also have the staff lockers. I don't necessarily know if they would be really appropriate for the kitchen, but I wanted a little place where there were a few items just in here that kind of fitted in, so you had a little private sort of space into there. And with the big kind of whiteboard or chalkboard above the sort of thing, I feel like maybe once you're closed you kind of pull that down over it so that it covers up the window, because it does kind of cover half the window as it is. But I felt like that was just a little bit of kind of pretend play, I guess, with this build for allowing it to be so open into there. But we've kind of basically done the whole of the cafe while I have been waffling as per usual. And now we're going to jump over onto this section over here. So I wanted some big seating, and I wanted some platform seating, so that you know your view is not blocked by anything into here. Now, you might have noticed I had to delete some of the walls. I did go back through and wallpaper everything into here, and now we're going to get out some seating. This seating here worked perfectly for what I wanted. It kind of looked like it all fits together into there as well. And then we just get some on the lower level in there. It's not quite the same blue, but I felt like it worked enough that we didn't need anything else into there, and we do get that throughout. Now, here is mistake number 3. I did not check the size of the ice rink before I started this build. I really wanted the big one. It just wasn't going to fit, and I was not moving this lot. I was not moving at this point. So yeah, we basically have the small one to go in here, and I wanted, as I said, I wanted a podium set up in here for them. So yeah, this is attempt number 1, and I realised very quickly it did not work in terms of how podiums actually work. Yeah, again, this is while I was looking up Olympic stadiums, sporting events like stadiums, yeah, winter games, things like that. I did quite a bit of work to try to figure out how this all worked into here and how you would actually get up there, because yeah, your sort of winner would not eventually be able to get there. But we figured a way. It does work. I play tested it, so your Sims can actually stand up there perfectly fine. So yeah, that is a nice little area over here. And then we do also get out a like the flags, so that, you know, like once you win, your nation's flag or whatever goes up behind them. I felt like maybe they could kind of pick out like a handful of flags that they had to be raised if they won at like a competition or something. Yeah, that kind of thing into here. And we also have this blue light kind of feature. We did actually use quite a lot from the party essentials kit. Weirdly, I was not prepared to use that kit today, but hey, you'll see the flags up there. And then we also have a couple of other kind of blue sort of flags coming through into here. And then the weird little high school mascot, I just thought he might actually work pretty well in here. And then we also get the trophy cabinet from high school, because maybe you don't get to keep your trophy. That's kind of what I was thinking in my head. that it's just like maybe regionals were here or something, and yeah, you won, but you don't get to keep the trophy because you're a sports club and they want to show off to everybody and prospective people and things like that. Now, there was a few posters and things like that I got in around the place just because I thought they made a little bit more sort of sense into here, and then some more seating on the lower level. I thought maybe like because it was on this sort of lower level, if you've got like little kids or something, this would be a better place for them, or like coaches or something that are always up and down, or sort of like competing, these sorts of seats over there. And now we're getting the balloons. I do actually move that first balloon. It would not work without Tool. I ended up having to move it with Tool so that it fitted in the right space. And then more balloons. These kind of looked really weird, I've got to be honest, but they eventually kind of fitted in here, and we placed quite a few other streamers and balloons and stuff like that in kind of all over the place, all in this really nice sort of icy blue kind of feel, which I love, into there. And the lighting on here just did not really seem to work, and I knew I was going to take away the ceiling above the ice rink, so the lights you can sort of see above the ice rink actually disappear. That was kind of a decision I made right at the very beginning, that I knew that they was going to cut away, so I had to kind of come up with some other lighting ideas and suggestions. So we've got these big ones over the reception and the sort of cafe, and then those little ball light things worked perfectly for around the ice rink. And then you can see here we've made this sort of giant chunk here kind of floating the rest of the ceiling. I didn't place any sort of like structural props into this. I don't really know why, I totally just forgot them. But anyway, we have now moved up onto the upstairs of this. I really wanted, obviously, to be able to look down on the ice. Maybe if you are like competing, you can check out your competition or things like that. But also I knew this may well be a little bit of a popular venue and have lots of people in it. So I figured if you were going to have lots of people everywhere, you would need an upstairs. And also when we did like for competitions and stuff, that's kind of what was playing through my head up here as well, and we just needed more space to kind of make things work. And I also wanted more kind of options for this lot and more things to do on here. So we do actually kind of have more lighting and more events, more things coming through up here. So yeah, more seating. I feel like there's probably too much in this build in terms of seating, but hey, it works, so why not get that up here. And then more balloons and just more decorations and things like that. I kind of had a lot of space to fill. I probably should have made the sort of cutaway a little bit bigger than what it actually was, just to kind of reduce that space down, but you know, it is what it is. And yeah, I kind of had to just work around it into there. But now we also get in at some vending machines, because maybe you don't want to go downstairs to get your snack or whatever, or you don't fancy having a proper meal or something like that. You just kind of want to be settled up here, or just have something light. So that's kind of what I was thinking for those, or maybe just like a drink or something, water or something into there. And now up here we are going to get in a bar, because why on earth not? And I settle eventually on this sort of curved one for here. So you can see I do actually make this a bar for this, so you can, if you don't have like businesses and hobbies, this will still work. That's kind of what I was thinking in my head. So obviously you're not going to have some of the items, but it would still work perfectly fine for you. Into there we have a television. I did also make sure that we had obviously everything we needed for a restaurant, so you can have that. I just don't think physically it would work, or actually work as a restaurant, because your Sims would just be ice skating. But hey, that's something you can work on if you really wanted to, into here. And then there are more seating options up here. I figured if you were going to have like a drink or something and you wanted a little bit more sort of family sort of space for those sort of drinks or anything like that, to do that in there. But we're quickly coming to the end of this video. All of the other creators are at the end, so check those out as well. But I will leave you here, and I will see you all in the new year. Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye.